from the heart and mouth of exalted souls is the perfection of life. So I would like to, I would like to give the platform over as soon as possible to Mother Rukmini, but I must tell you, those of you who are just arriving, those who've been here already, those of you who've never encountered it, and those of you who have encountered it before, please just open your hearts and minds to whatever she has to say. She is a walking heart of mercy, divine mercy, human mercy. She's grace in capital letters. So please, can you just fill the room with some devotional noise, and please give some 3 loud Haribol for Her Grace Rukmini Devi. Haribol! Her Grace Rukmini Devi ki jai!
Krishna's with a capital G. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Gopi Chanaballabha Giri Bardhari Gopi Chanaballabha Giri Bardhari Jaya Gopi Chanaballabha Girivardhari Gopijanaballabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banacharya Tira Banacharya Yamuna Tira Banacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Damodara Shri Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Goranita Jaya Goranita Jaya Goranita Jaya Goranita Goranita Jaya Goranita Jaya Goranita Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Pada, Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Jaya Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Jaya Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Jaya Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Jaya Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Ananta Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramansa Pariprajakacharya Astatara Satashishimad Shilabai Chadnar Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Brahmasakha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Mathur Dhama Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Book Distribution Ki Jai Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tirobhav Mahotsav Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, thanks. Try to survive. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so grateful to all of you who come from such long distances, so many old friends, new friends, the Casey Sock all the way from London, amazing people here from Toronto, from Florida, all to honor the great visionary Bhaktivedanta Swami. So thank you all for being here and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak, you dear devotees. Om Namo Bhagavatam. Fifth canto Bhagavatam, someone told me they would have. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So when the Bhagavatam appears, I'm planning to speak, read a verse. It's a prayer by Prahlad Maharaj that's spoken in a chapter of the fifth canto Srimad Bhagavatam called The Residence of Jambu Dweep. So it's a very beautiful prayer that always reminds me of Bhaktivedanta Swami. So I want to share that verse with you as soon as it comes. Okay. Thank you very much. 5:18. Okay, is it on? Not on a board. It's coming on the board? No, okay. Well, okay. Maybe I could pass the book around a little bit. Okay. Swasyastu visvasya kalo prasidatam. Swasyastu visvasya kalo prasidatam. This is if anyone has it in their phone, all you high-tech people. This is yeah, it's 5th canto, chapter 18, text number 9. And maybe you can find it in your phone and then we can have some repetition. Swasyastu visvasya kalo prasidatam. Syastu vispasya kalo prasidatam. Danyantu bhutani shivam mitodya. Danyantu bhutani shivam mito. Manascha bhadram bhajatarat hoksaje. Manascha bhadram bhajatarat hoksaje. Manascha bhadram bhajatarat hoksaje. Bhajatarat hoksaje. Aveshatam no matirapya hoituki. Aveshatam no matirapya. Aveshatam no matirapya hoituki. Aveshatam no matirapya hoituki. Anyone want to try if you have it in your phone? Swasyastu viswasya kalo prasidatam. Tanyantu bhutani shiva. Aveshatam no matirapya hoitaki. Somebody else? Can I show you? Swasyastu viswasya kalo prasidatam. Tanyantu bhutani shivam mitodya. Aschabhadram bhajatara lukshaje. Aveshatam no matirapya haitiki. Shameshwar. Prasidatam. Tubhutani shivam mitodya. Bhadram bhajatara lukshaje. Eshatam no matirapya. Swasti, auspiciousness. Astu, let there be. Visvasya, of the entire universe. Kalo, the envious, almost everyone. That's amazing. The envious, almost everyone. Wow. Prasidatam, let them be pacified. Dhyayantu, let them consider. Bhutani, all the living entities. Jivam, auspiciousness. Mita, mutual. Diya, by their intelligence. Mana, the mind. Cha, and. Bhadram, calmness. Bhajatar, let it experience. Adhoksaje, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the perception of the mind, intelligence, and senses. Aveshatam, let it be absorbed. Nak, our mati, intelligence. Api, indeed. Ahituki, translation by Srila Prabhupada. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga for each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the supreme transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. Please repeat. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the supreme transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The following verse describes a Vaishnava. Vanchakalpa taru byascha kripa sindhu vayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavat Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy. Parama nirmatsaranam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Kalo prasidatam. May all envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings, and he can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha badram bhajatad adhoksaje. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsingadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nrsingo, Hridaye Nrsingo. Let Lord Nrsingadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from him. Even pure Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshastaka. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budho, Kripaya Tava Padapankaja, Sita Duli Sadrisham Vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janman Ishwari Bhavatat Bhakti Haitiki Tvai. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narasinghaya, which is the previous verse, he prays for a benediction from the Lord, but because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Swasyasya Visvasya, let there be all good fortune throughout the universe. Prahlad Maharaj thus requests the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake, and the other is the man like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad, but Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees. Kalo prasidatum. The difficulty is that the kalau, envious living entities, are rarely pacified. One kind of kala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras or by the action of a particular herb. Mantro sadi vasa sarpa kala kena nivaryate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays, Shivam mitodiya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others, but in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna, Bhajatad Adhoksaje. As indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savaimana Krishna Padaravindayo, and as it advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 1865, Manmana Pavamad Bhakto, one should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Cheto, Darpana Marjanam. Materialists always think of sense gratification, but Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy will change their mind and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everyone would go back to home, back to Godhead. However, Srila Viswanath Chakravarti says, don't worry, this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by the Krishna consciousness movement, another set will fill the entire universe. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksun Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Namaom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatyadesh Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. So this is a prayer for everyone in the universe, people of all different mentalities to be blessed. And I wanted to share with you, this is a wonderful verse, a wonderful translation. But I wanted to share with you another translation that was translated by Ravinda Swarup Prabhu for an event on the tragic occasion of the 9/11 catastrophe in New York and Washington, D.C. And there was a memorial event for all the people who had died and suffered at the Washington National Cathedral. And so he wrote this beautiful translation, which I have to say is very interesting because since then, I've attended many other events at the National Cathedral, which is supposed to be the nation's house of worship, the interfaith cathedral for all people. But I've heard many people quote his words without giving any credit to him or Srimad Bhagavatam, just because this is such a beautiful intention. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and good hope. May everyone driven by envy and enmity become pacified and reconciled. May all living beings develop abiding concern for the welfare of others. May our own hearts and minds be filled with purity and serenity. May all these blessings flow naturally from this supreme benediction. May our attention become spontaneously absorbed in the rapture of pure love unto the transcendent Lord. So Sri Prahlad Maharaj is describing a non-envious Vaishnava like himself. And Srila Bhaktitirtha Swami was an example of such a person, always thinking of the welfare of others. So we're all here this weekend to honor this bittersweet, right? Bittersweet 20th anniversary of the Tirobhav Mahotsav of Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami, just the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So I gave a title to this class, and the title is, May He Not Have Died in Vain. May He Not Have Died in Vain. Bhakti Tirtha Swami was fearless in his compassion, fearless, speaking truth to power, yet with grace, power, insistence, and a kind of otherworldly presence and patience. For example, when he stood with other Black students at Princeton University outside the doorway of the home of the president of the university, requesting or insistently demanding a voice for those minority student groups who had no voice. Or when in later years, he did the same thing in Mayapur when his god sisters were being refused a chance to give Srimad Bhagavatam class in the temple room. I remember a recent conversation I had with a sannyasi godbrother. He was reflecting on that incident in Mayapur, and he was telling me how he wished he could have been so bold like Bhaktitirtha Swami. Bhaktitirtha Swami, when I think of him, couldn't be easily imitated by people like me or others. He was on a completely another level of realization and practice. What do you think? Did you ever feel that way about him watching his interactions? Yeah? You had that experience hearing about him, hearing stories about him, or maybe personal interactions? Yeah. So I'm sure this weekend we've already heard some remarkable pastimes from Kamagiri, from Radhanath Swami, from so many others. And I'm sure this weekend we'll hear many more stories of those times, those interactions when we felt that this is someone coming from a much deeper place, a much higher place, a place way beyond me. Remember the prayer he wrote in his Vyas Puja offering 2004. He wrote to Srila Prabhupada. So, in the mood of Vasudev Datta, I would like to ask you, can you arrange that their sufferings come to me so that many can be freed from their anguish and thus joyfully serve you and return to Krishna with fewer encumbrances? After all, I and many others have procrastinated in so many ways in our full surrender. So in this way, you will force me to fully surrender while helping many others. Only if you force me to become a pure son will I be of significant value for your mission. Prepare me to become a divine slave who is fully captured by your and Radha and Krishna's love. While he was still here, I directly asked him once to please take that prayer back, that we needed him here in this suffering world, in this often suffering ISKCON society. He told me, no, my prayer is already working. It's helping devotees to take things more seriously. So why am I calling this class, May He Not Have Died in Vain? Gita Nagari, or now Gita what? Gita Valley. Okay, Gita Nagari, Gita Valley is hallowed ground. It is the place where the Gita is sung, where Sri Sri Radha Damodar lived, where His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada walked, and the place where Bhakti Tirtha Swami, as a perfected and beloved son of Srila Prabhupada, enacted his final pastimes and finally left this world for the world beyond this world, the spiritual world. There's another place near here in Pennsylvania, a place of great tragedy and great sacrifice that the US American President Abraham Lincoln also called hallowed ground. As the Civil War raged on, Lincoln stood there under gray skies like today and spoke the few words of his Gettysburg Address. He said in part, "We are met in a great battlefield, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract." He said, "The world will little notice, no long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom and shall not perish from the earth." We know that Bhaktitirtha Swami gave his life and the last full measure of his devotion to seeing that the society that Srila Prabhupada left to us be carried on in the true spirit in which Srila Prabhupada intended. I believe that we need to pray today on this hallowed ground of Gita Nagari that the noble unfinished work of Bhaktitirtha Swami and Srila Prabhupada himself, who came here and both sacrificed their lives, that they too shall not have died in vain. Bhaktitirtha Swami wrote, "We do not want to become members of a powerful institution, but we want to experience the theology in such a way that our lives preach our message. We want people to feel amazed by our culture of devotion. If the participants are wholesome, the families are strong, and their physical and psychological needs are met, this devotional culture will certainly amaze people. More important, they should see how the spiritual care offered to those in the immediate environment extends outwards. We must first influence our own communities in order to influence the society. If we cannot first help ourselves, how will we execute the commission of these great acharyas who want us to assist them in global transformation?" Bhaktitirtha Swami was a visionary community builder, relentlessly challenging us to notice those who are marginalized, discriminated against, those who have no voice, and to do better to try to build the beloved community. Bhaktitirtha Swami also preached in Russia during the Soviet period. Imagine a Black American man trying to live undercover, riding the metro to the end of the line at night because he had nowhere else to sleep. And Maharaj said, Radhanath Swami said yesterday, and he would chant his japa in the bathrooms, in those public metro stations. His example reminds me of something said by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who during the same Soviet period had been a prisoner in the Russian gulag of Stalin. He said, "It did not matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. We needed to stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those being questioned by life, daily and hourly. Our answer must consist not in talk and meditation, but in right action and in right conduct. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find out the right answer to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it constantly sets for each individual." He further said, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose." Bhaktitirtha Swami was ever the personalist. Concerning relationships, he wrote, "We ultimately want relationships because we want a community of love. We want to live a full life because life itself is really a love affair. It means that when we are not in loving environments or relationships, we are having real problems with the quality of our existence. When we are not happy, it means that we are forgetting our identity and purpose. Our dissatisfaction means that we are missing opportunities to share love, to give love, and to receive love." I'm just going to read that little paragraph again. When we are not happy, it means that we are forgetting our identity and purpose. Our dissatisfaction means that we are missing opportunities to share love, to give love, and to receive love. We are taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, the six Goswamis, that the mood of separation is a greater love as an impetus to one day, once again, experiencing union. But which one of us today, here today, would not love to see Bhaktitirtha Swami and even Srila Prabhupada again here ecstatically dancing among us, right? We would love that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur once wrote on the disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur, he reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die while they are living still in sound. The Vaishnava dies to live, and living tries to spread the holy around. And our Srila Prabhupada wrote of his own Guru Maharaj on the title page of his first volume of translations and purports to Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Srila Prabhupada wrote, he lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. So in conclusion, I'd like to ask each of us today, in our own ways, from our own hearts, and with each of our own capabilities, to ponder, how can I make sure that this glorious personality, His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, shall not have sacrificed in vain, given so much in vain, taught us so much in vain, and offering his fearless prayer to Srila Prabhupada that he shall not have died in vain, and that all he and Srila Prabhupada struggled for and fought for shall not perish from the earth. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Okay. So I think I was told by the Prashadam department that we have a hard stop at 9:30, but we have a little time for reflections, questions. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother Rukmini, for such a beautiful. I can't use even the right words. I'm so moved by your presentation on the life of Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj as well as Srila Prabhupada. You yourself were a very young girl, just 16 years old, when Srila Prabhupada gave a very important instruction. If you will kindly share that episode where Srila Prabhupada looked at everyone and then you asked the question, even the girls, Swamiji? If you will kindly share
Yeah,
that.
that's an important instruction. Yeah. So small group of disciples, we were in Prabhupada's apartment just behind the storefront at 26 Second Avenue. So he would have gatherings in his apartment on alternate days when there were no classes in the storefront. So this one evening, there were, I don't know, maybe just a dozen disciples there. This is 1968. So Srila Prabhupada was looking into each one of our faces very intently and saying, I want each one of you to open a temple somewhere. And I heard a similar story from my god sister Sitala. She was in Paris and Prabhupada was doing the same thing. He was looking into each one of their faces saying, I want each one of you to become a guru. So that defeats Ritvik philosophy. Anyway, so at this time, so he said, I want each one of you to open a temple somewhere. And I was only 16 years old and I was quite shocked. And I said, at that time we called him Swamiji. And I said, even the girls, Swamiji? And he was laughing, just like a loving grandfather. And he said, yes, there is no difference between the boys and the girls. When you're teaching, preaching Krishna consciousness, there is no difference. And so it's a very important, for me, lifelong instruction. And then he began to speak about Janavi Devi, the wife of Lord Nityananda, and how she was leading the whole Sankirtan movement after the disappearance of Nityananda Prabhu. How the six Goswamis were honoring her when she came to Radhakund. So that was a very important instruction for me. Yeah. I'll tell you just another funny personal story. When I first met Srila Prabhupada, it was in Montreal, Canada. And I came with the devotees from San Francisco, Malati, Shamsundar, Yamuna, and Gurdas, and Mukunda, and Janaki, and baby Saraswati. And we came into Prabhupada's room in this little rented apartment. And Yamuna Devi said, Swamiji, this is Wendy. She's only 16 years old and she'd like to become your disciple. And Srila Prabhupada, his face kind of like crunched up, and he said, but where are your parents? So that's Prabhupada was feeling the pain of my parents. I was only 16 years old, you know. So please, any other reflections or questions or clarifications or anything anyone would like to share? Gauravani?
Hare Krishna. This is probably inappropriate, but it's a beautiful thing. I wanted to share that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj personally told me that you and my birth father, Bhardraj, were the first devotees who spoke to him. And that he was coming with a very kind of fierce mood of inquisitiveness in different cultures and traditions. He had come to the temple, and many devotees were afraid of his physical energy. And you and Bhardraj were very loving and kind, and he said, because of you, he stayed. So I just wanted to honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think Jayadvaita Swami was also kind to him, I've heard. But anyway, so that should teach us never discriminate against anyone who you think this person could never become a devotee because of this, that, or the other thing. It's very important. What else? Any other reflections, Malati? Oh, over here in the back.
I'm an insane monster, so I
Boo,
don't
please
know
use
how
the
to
mic. Please use the mic.
plan it.
Please use the mic. It's for the recording.
Okay. Well, I don't want it to be recorded because it's private, but it's very intimate in how devotees care for each other. Because I didn't know about the etiquette, but I just wanted to realize that I was already empowered by Srila Prabhupada because I was initiated as soon as I read the first letter. And so I knew I was initiated, but I was a Catholic and I didn't want to join the priesthood right away. So I just did what I was supposed to do. But then when I got out of prison, I wanted to get initiated. And I said, well, Prabhupada's gone. What am I going to do? But there was this monster, Gaur Govinda. And I thought, oh, yeah, he's a monster. Let me get him. And so I was shopping for a guru, first mistake. But anyhow, he was gone. And then later on, I shopped for another guru and I chose him. And, you know, the only thing I think I might have been doing was trying to chant with sincerity. So after I did that, I chanted with sincerity, but I felt so upset. Something was, I said, I didn't offend anyone. Why can't I chant like, and I said, the only thing I did is I was getting initiated. I asked someone. And as soon as I said that, the clouds went away and I felt wonderful. I said, oh, I made a mistake. So I had to go tell this person that, no, I can't get initiated, but the news went around the planet already, but I had to tell the truth. Well, a little while later, I did the same mistake, shopping for a guru, and I chose another one, and I didn't even get a chance to feel it, that one person said something, another person said something, and then another person that meant so much to me said, "Oh, you're not like that, and you have to understand what this is about. You have to get someone that you can surrender like you." And she said, "Bhakti Tirtha is like you," and I loved her. She was very kind to me, and I said, "Oh God, I guess that's what I have to do." And he was my buddy, anyhow, because we were both monsters for Prabhupada. He knew I liked it.
Monster in a good way.
Yeah. And well, that's understood. Like you echoed it, but it's understood. He was amazing, but he always see me distributing books. He says, "Oh, you're doing it, you're doing it." I said, "No, all glories to Prabhupada." He said, "No, you're doing it." So we always were kindred spirits. And um, so I did get initiated by him. He said, "Oh, anything I can do for you." So I would like to say thank you and let everybody know that if you don't go shopping for a guru, but if you get the mercy of the Vaishnav, Krishna speaks through that Vaishnav too. So it's very special. And you little monster, you're a monster too. And I appreciate your kindness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Maybe we have time for one more question. Raja Lila has her hand.
Hari Hari, thank you, Sankirtan Prabhu. Rukmini Devi, I don't have a question. However, I just wanted to thank you and your husband, Anuttama Prabhu, who's here in the audience. I think he came yesterday and we didn't acknowledge him. We want to thank you so much for being here, Prabhu. He was with us last night with Gauravani, dancing in Kirtan. Thank you. I wanted to thank you both for carrying on the mood of caring for others, like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And I want to thank you, Rukmini, for this mood of guruship, which really means simply caring for everyone that we meet. I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank Anuttama Prabhu for carrying on Srila Prabhupada's mood to keep the Institute of ISKCON alive in the hearts of the devotees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just on that note, I'll share there's a beautiful quote from Srila Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said something amazing. He said, "A real guru does not make disciples. A real guru makes other gurus." So if you're a disciple of Bhakti Tirtha Swami or aspiring disciple of him or anyone, Radhanath Swami, any of these great souls, it's your task to also become a guru in their service, in the service of Srila Prabhupada. So thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Her Grace Rukmini Devi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj ki, Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Okay, so festival attendees, welcome each and every one of you. We have got an extremely packed day. I cannot tell you how packed it is. I don't know how we ended up with a day with only a lunch break and a breakfast break in it. I looked at the schedule, I was like, oh, there's not even 2 minutes to change items. It's like, how are we going to do this? So we need you all to cooperate all together with each other, with your stomachs, with your arms and legs, getting to and fro places, because that's the only way today is going to work. Today's theme, what we want to do, we really want to make use of this full day. And we are going to go for breakfast now. We literally have until 10:30. I mean, literally have until 10:30. We can't do what we did last night. Okay, we can't go 45 minutes over. So please, 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 can you be back here at 10:30? Because Radhanath Maharaj will be speaking on His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Session's called Forever in Our Hearts, and Maharaj is going to freestyle. Okay. And then straight after that, what we have is a session with, so what we want to do today is go through the chapters of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's life, some of them, and get a glimpse into what it was like to be around him and his pioneering spirit in different areas of preaching and projects whose hearts he touched, the different types of people that he interacted with. And so we'll be hearing from many devotees. There'll be different chapters. His life and preaching in West Africa, his life and preaching with Washington, D.C., IFAS D.C., his life and preaching in Gita Nagari. And then we will also be having some creative expressions and dramas, and also our small groups where everybody can share their memories. So we got a lot on, okay, family, you got to stay together today. So please come back at 10:30, please, 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 and we'll see you all shortly. Hare Krishna.
May I take this?
Yeah. Thanks so much. It was so nice. You can have your ginger tea. Yeah,
May I give you one comment on the class? I want to share that spark, the subject we're talking about as far as, empowering women to be disciples and everything. I've been studying, like some biblically critical history, and I ran into, like some of the testaments that got started, around again.
Hare Krishna, I'm sorry for my oversight. Those of you who have just arrived, if you, the breakfast is at the farm buffet, and if you're a Prabhupada disciple, please go to Muloka Cafe. Everybody else to the farm buffet. Thank you.
One of them is gospel according to Mary Mac, and she apparently, after the crucifixion, also she was still alive. She didn't get captured, and she continued on and established church as well. That's still there. So did Thomas, and so did his mom. They were kind of some of the remaining members of that mission area. In her gospel, it's really short, but it's basically some of her and a group of some of other disciples that were in Jerusalem, and they're